Hello my beautiful viewers and welcome to my channel. I know it's probably the first time ever you ended up on this channel. First of all, I'm really glad that you decided to click on this video. Now if you end up enjoying it, I'd be really glad if you decide to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. Now I'm done talking, so let's get to the video. So for those of you that don't know me, which is probably the majority of you, well, if you take a look at all of that behind me, and if you take a look at my channel, I think it's gonna be quite easy for you to figure out that I'm just a little bit of an otaku. So as much as I enjoy watching anime, and even though that's what I talk about the most on this channel, in real life I'm actually a very avid manga reader. As you can see, my collection, although not particularly big, is quite variegated. That's because I really like to experiment with what I read. You can obviously find some of the biggest shonen titles, of which some I end up extremely enjoying, and some others a bit less. But if you take a closer look, there's also plenty of much less known series. Well, somewhat around a week ago or so, when I went to buy some manga, I kinda had this thought, so if I'm nonetheless always buying manga, well, why not make some content out of it? So that's why I decided to make this new series that will hopefully come out every week, once a week, in which I'm gonna be recommending you wise people of the internet some lesser known, or not necessarily, titles that I find and that I end up enjoying. So let's inaugurate this new format with 2 volumes that I bought last week and that I ended up absolutely loving. Now, the first one of them is gonna be Boys Run the Riot. This is a manga that started serialization in 2020 and was published for just a couple of months because it's quite short. It's only got four volumes, as far as I remember, of which I have only the first 2. And the really interesting part about this series is that, well, it was the first ever manga series made by an openly transgender person. Which in Japan it's still kind of a taboo thing to talk about. So the story opens up by presenting one of the 2 major protagonists, which is called Ryo. For the moment I'm going to be using she because at this point she's introduced as a she. She's a girl that we almost immediately find out is struggling with her sexuality and is not really managing to find the best way, the most healthiest way to deal with it. You're introduced to her everyday struggles, like for example the fact that she doesn't feel very comfortable in wearing her girl's school uniform, so that she always ends up coming to school with her tracksuits. Or for example the fact that she didn't really ever felt any type of attraction towards men, but it would usually be women, other girls, that made her heart beat a bit faster, Or also for example the fact that she would always have male friends, which led up to an obvious situation in which other girls would shallowly misunderstand her behavior. Ryo feels like there's really no way out of this miserable life. The only way Ryo finds to somewhat escape his routine-like suffering is by going out wearing boys' clothes. He's very passionate about clothes and especially drip. Oh, look at this drip, man. The situation changes when one day a new classmate, who ended up losing a year, gets in Ryo's class. They usually say that the first impression is always the right one, and so is the case here as well. Sato, the new classmate, gives Ryo the impression of really not giving a fuck. He comes to class wearing sunglasses, having his long hair up in a tail, and wearing very flashy clothes. First interaction between the 2 happens at a clothing store. After both of them reach out for the same t-shirt, Sato really randomly says something along the lines of, "Do you want to start a clothing brand with me?" I've gotta be honest, I didn't have a clue about what this manga was about before starting reading it. And looking at the cover art and the title, Boys Run the Riot, I kinda expected it to be somewhat along the lines of gang-based story. Maybe something along the lines of like Tokyo Revengers or something like that, but in a more modern context. But when I read this line for the first time and realized that the main point of this manga was creating a clothing brand, well, I was very surprised at first. And knowing this kind of lowered my expectations a little bit. Keeping on reading the first volume, well, I really changed my opinion about it. So first of all, the thing that I think that I really liked were the characters. They were absolutely amazing. The main protagonist, Ryo, goes through so much character development in just the first volume, which is like 5 chapters, that any other manga or anime would take fucking 20 episodes to get this much character development. Ryo comes from being really shy and insecure, not really understanding himself, and being extremely scared to show his true colors to others, fearing of being rejected and bullied, a thing that happened to him for the entirety of his life. But thanks to Sato that manages to bring him out of his shell, Ryo manages to put into word his feelings and give voice to her repressed emotions by making graffiti on the roof of the school. Might say a bit cheesy, but I kinda like this scene. The author said that he made this manga basing it on his own experience of being, obviously, a transgender person. Being a being a transgender person obviously doesn't really make one's life any easier. So finding something, a passion of sorts, like clothing is for you, might be a great way to express your emotions that might be, sometimes too difficult to put into words. And the thing is that something very similar can be said about the character of Sato. Kind of in the middle of the first volume, Sato confesses to Riot that in his life there is really nothing that he cares about more than clothing. The only way he's able to express his view of the world is by making clothes that will defy any types of stereotypes. For the moment, I only read the first volume, and I'm already extremely hooked on this story. So much so that the day after reading it, I went out and bought the second volume, of which I am absolutely loving the cover. Look at this. The cover art is absolutely fucking amazing. So final consideration, this series has got amazing character development, a well-written and relatable story, and quite a realistic art style. Manga obviously might not be for everybody. If you're in search of action-packed stories, well, this will probably not really satisfy you. And also, if you don't really give a shit about the LGBT community and its struggles, you might enjoy the creating a brand part, but it's so heavily, intertwined, is that a word, with the LGBTQ plus aspect that you really get both of them almost every page of the story. So yeah, if you're not really into that, I don't think you're gonna be enjoying it. Now let's get to the second manga that I wanted to talk about, Voice Abyss. Now, although also having the word voice in the title, this manga is quite different from the other one. This is a much more sort of mature and really depressing story. So first of all, this is a romance manga written by Ryo Minanami. The story talks about a boy called Reiji who lives with his older hikikomori brother, his mother, and his grandma that suffers from dementia. Now, Reiji's life is quite difficult, having to bear with a very precarious lifestyle and a violent brother. The atmosphere he has to live in is almost unbearable. Other than that, he's also trying to repay sort of a debt he has with a childhood friend of his that used to protect him from bullies when they were little, but with time kind of became one himself, using Reiji as a sort of a slave. The only way he has to repay his debt and provide to his troublesome family is by starting to work at Gen's father's construction company, spending then the entirety of his life in his small hometown. Reiji's only friend is a girl called Chako. They would always read manga together and chat about life at her place. She wants to leave and move to Tokyo right after finishing school in order to become an editor. And she also made Reiji discover a new idol band called Acrylic, and Reiji becomes a big fan of one member in particular, Aoi. Now, one night when Reiji goes out to buy dinner for his family, he finds a girl giving away bentos for free behind the convenience she works at. After a quick glance at the girl, he realizes that she is none less than Aoi, the idol from Acrylic. She asks Reiji to keep her identity a secret and to give her a tour of the town. And now all of this situation ends up with them fucking, and her asking Reiji to die together, to commit a sort of a double S word. You get me? Sort of in the same way as is depicted in one of the stories that is set in the same town they live in, where two lovers killed themselves by jumping in the river. So this manga covers some quite heavy topics that I think are quite difficult to portray in let's say, realistic way. I'm not gonna say that this author manages to do so in an impeccable way. It's definitely done researching some sort of realism in characters' emotions and situations. Sure, all of the suicide aspect is quite heavily romanticized, but I gotta say that at least for the main character, the author doesn't think twice before giving him pages on pages to think and verbalize his problems, his thoughts, and his emotions. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend this manga to somebody who has lived through similar situations and hasn't fully, let's say, recovered from them. But if you feel that a story like this is something you might actually enjoy reading, then absolutely fucking go for it, because it's really good. It's fucking amazing. Other than that, I would say that the art style is not really something notable or amazing, but it is quite good, quite detailed. We have pages like this, which look absolutely fucking amazing. I actually found the series so good that after finishing the first volume, I just went and bought the other two volumes that are out by now. So here they are. One thing that I want to say is the cover art are absolutely fucking amazing. Just look at this. This one, the first volume, which looks beautiful with this blue instead of violet colors. Second volume and third volume, which I think is like the most beautiful one colors wise. So yeah, be sure to check it out. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. Be also sure to check out my Twitter account because I'm starting to use it quite heavily. So yeah, thank you very much again. I really hope I'm gonna see you in my next videos. So goodbye.